We hear the term equal opportunity a lot, specifically in the context of employment. So putting aside the discussion of the pay gap or the way women are shown, we also wanted to address the opportunity women have to work on screen or in one of the key creative roles like directing, producing, and writing. But first, before we get into that, I want to ask you ladies, in your own industries, do you see any gender biases? Give me the quick 1-2 punch here. Paige, what do you think?
I own a hair and makeup company, so it's usually women in the industry that I work in, like bridal. But in the film industry for like special effects makeup, it's usually there are a lot of men
Really?
who take up those roles.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Sherry, what about you? You're a
I would
therapist. So
as a therapist,
yeah.
that's right. I would say that there is not a bias or a prejudice against gender, but it is interesting in a similar way that people will still, when they call in for a session, ask, they have preference towards a male or a female.
Personally,
yes.
I have a preference for a female.
Do
I feel
you?
more comfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Ruth, what do you see?
Yeah, definitely in real estate, I see, there's lots of women and lots of men in real estate, but I do see sometimes the way that some women are spoken to. I've experienced that. I've experienced a male colleague having to intervene in certain situations. So there definitely are things that women experience that men don't experience in
Absolutely.
the industry.
And in real estate, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think there's an unconscious bias in the stories we tell in Hollywood? Let's bring it back to film. What do we think?
Most definitely. And that's where I think that we're trying to struggle against those limited beliefs, right? So when we talk about the equity part of gender in Hollywood, I think it also boils down to educating the audience so that we are desiring more of those roles, because that's really what they're based on.
Well, that's interesting. Hollywood makes movies that sell. They'll do
Right.
what they need to do in order to sell. So is it society that needs to change their thinking? Because my next question was, why are we seeing so many male leads in these movies? Are they just filling a need that society wants to see in movies?
I think they're just kind of doing it the way that it's always been done and not trying new things or taking a long time to try new things.
I'm going to challenge you on that because I watched Captain Marvel and you were talking off air about superhero movies with strong female leads. And what I find interesting is Captain Marvel didn't do the greatest in the box office when you compare it to other movies. And we were talking about overcompensating. Do you feel like we go a little too far when we try to make those strong female leads to make it balanced and then it's like it turns people off in a way?
I think sometimes I also think about the movie Ghostbusters that had all women.
The one with all women, yeah.
People didn't necessarily receive that well. And I just wonder, like, how well were those movies made? How much effort was put into the marketing and those kind of things? I feel like there are a lot of different factors.
Yeah, that's valid.
That's a good point. But also, I think as with women, it's getting better now. I think the gap is closing, which is wonderful. But there was the idea of an assertive, strong woman not being as appealing at first, right? Where are they assertive or are they the witch?
Well, and
right?
Something about that movie too, I think, is that's women playing a role that mimics a male role.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not what we want to see
It's frustrating to an audience.
Because for the Barbie movie, it wasn't a movie about women trying to be like men. It was about women in their full complexities as individuals and the differences too. So
to bring it back, so I want to kind of tie it into behind the camera because I think that's also important. You were mentioning Paige as a makeup artist, right? So I have an interesting stat. Women's employment on the 250 top grossing films reported in 2022, women comprised only 24% of cinematographers, writers, producers, exec producers, editors, etc. I mean, is the job just less attractive to women, or do women why are we seeing that, I guess?
I think in Hollywood, it's been a boys' club, right, for such a long time. So over time, I believe that if women keep trying to get these roles and they keep getting turned away, and men keep getting these roles, now we're in a place where, of course, there's going to be an imbalance.
If we see, teachers are predominantly female. When you think of a teacher, maybe you think more female-led. What's the difference between that and film? Is it just that that's kind of the way that it is? Why is that such a problem per se when it comes to maybe that's just the way that men take that direction and females hit the point in their life where they take another direction?
Or is it a stereotype, right?
Could be.
Yeah. And I think to the points that we've all spoken to as well is that that is changing as the generations change,
Mhm.
right? There is that
Mhm.
old boys kind of club, and I certainly see
Yeah.
that in all fields, and in Niagara
Yeah.
region, not just in Canada or
Mhm.
Hollywood, right? So, and as we educate, I think those gaps get smaller and smaller, but that's why I think we need to continue the movies like Barbie and
100%.
keep going.
What does positive change look like? Let's discuss next segment. Thanks.